too long since you've come around. What's troubling you?
Godfather, my husband was always loyal to you. He died for that loyalty.
So my name is David DeMartini. I'm the Vice President and Executive Producer responsible for The Godfather at Electronic Arts. So there's 4 other rival families in the game, and the weakest of those families, though still strong, is the Tattaglia family. They control parts of Little Italy, much of Little Italy, and they also control Brooklyn. It's one of the first families that you take on in a significant way in the game, and it's a family that you can beat as you start into the game, you know, through the first 10 or 15 levels. It starts out on very much even footing, but then as you continue to invest in your characters' fighting, shooting capability, street smarts, they get easier and easier to defeat. The good news is there's 3 other families that scale up and make the game continuously a challenge, all the way from level 0 all the way up to level 50. One of the things that we set out to do in the very beginning is to come in with a control mechanic, a fighting, shooting, and face-to-face mechanic that was very innovative. In this particular category of living world, open world games, we feel like some of them have not focused enough attention on that control mechanic. We concentrate a lot on that because you create your own character. So that character is going to look like you, and the next dimension that we wanted to tap into is we wanted to give you the feeling that as you hold the controller in your hand, you had complete control over the character on screen.
The Black Hand control scheme is a game mechanic where we wanted to replace digital button mashing with analog finesse. So what we wanted to do is use the analog stick as an extension of your hand. So as you throw quick attacks, you use quick flicks of the analog stick, and you can string together your own combos. Pressing true north or 12 o'clock on the analog stick executes quick attacks, where 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the stick execute different, more powerful attacks. So to charge an attack, you pull back on the analog stick, which pulls your character's fist back, and then throw that stick forward to execute a more powerful attack, inflicting more damage on your opponents. Then where the innovation really sets in is in the grab mechanic. To grab your opponent, you grab your controller, so both shoulder buttons simultaneously. So as you're grabbing that controller in hand, your character is grabbing his opponents on screen. And then you can manhandle your opponent while you're manhandling your controller. So pressing east and west on the stick will throw your player left and right, respectively. And you can also release the grab buttons at that point and throw them into stumble. Some of my favorite moves are throwing guys into traffic or through windows or over rooftops, etc. And again, it's all to gain respect or put pressure on an NPC. The shooting mechanic is taught to you by Luca Brazzi. He teaches you the way of the gun in one of the early training missions. He gives you your first gun, and the shooting mechanic works as a basic lock-on system. So you lock on with your left shoulder button, and at that point your aiming reticule starts very wide and narrows to pinpoint accuracy, depending on the weapon you're wielding. At that point, you can pressure point target your opponents. So you can shoot to wound, you can shoot a guy in his shooting arm to disarm him, shoot a guy in the knees to drop him down to his knees, allowing you to walk up and continue hand-to-hand attack a guy. As your character develops, as you gain respect, you earn respect levels, which you can then allocate skill points into your fighting, hand-to-hand, at shooting, etc., so that your character becomes more efficient in the way of the gun or whichever path you choose to head down. The hand-to-hand mechanic is then also used during face-to-face interactions. So throughout the game, you're going to try to extort merchants or take over rackets, which includes trying to defeat a racket boss behind closed doors. And to do that, you're looking for a weak spot that each one of these individuals have. So a baker, for example, you might need to lean her into her own oven. Or a merchant who's controlling a racket at the top of a venue, you might want to hold him over a ledge, over a rooftop. Certain NPCs actually can just be bought out. So you can simply walk into a back room, and if you have the cash and enough respect up front, you can simply buy a guy out. Others you have to apply a little more force, threatening them with a firearm, threatening them with your fist, actually inflicting pain by attacking them, etc. Once you get him in his submission zone, what you're basically trying to do is push him as close to his boiling point, as far to the edge as you can get him without getting him to snap. So the more pressure you can put on a guy, the more money you'll get from him weekly. But if you push a guy too far, you're going to end up with one of two things on your hands, a fight or a dead man. So what would the Godfather game be without a strangle mechanic? So while you have a guy grabbed, you grab your opponent and then you click in both analog sticks. And at that point, the controller starts to vibrate, simulating your opponent's heartbeat. So as the controller goes lifeless in your hands, as does your opponent in your character's hands. It's a very visceral feeling. Get ready to get your hands on this new control scheme, and I bet you guys are really going to like it.